What's up, y'all? It's Steven, Fanatic Perspective. Boy, am I excited to talk to you guys today. So yesterday, Dak Prescott went through a media tour, if you will. He was on ESPN, he was on Fox Sports 1, he was on the Dan Patrick Show, just giving his insights into the upcoming season. The Cowboys come off minicamp. Jason Witten and Des Bryant no longer being on the team. Just kind of like a politician, if you will, a representative of the Dallas Cowboys organization. And just wanted to give my thoughts on that, just thoughts on Dak in general. I know we haven't had a whole lot of conversation about that on this channel. We focused a lot on the draft and some recent issues, whether it's Des Bryant, whether it's Terrence Williams, and most recently David Irving. But today we are going to focus on Dak Prescott, and I was so impressed with his poise, his confidence, just gleaming with confidence in these interviews. Dak has always been buttoned up. He's always been A1 with his answers and how he carries himself in the media. That's definitely been one of his strengths since he's taken over as quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He understands the position, the gravity of the job of being the face of America's team, if you will. And he's hit that out of the park with flying colors. But now I'm seeing a guy who knows this is his team, who knows he's a leader. Just going to the Jason Witten, he was asked by Colin Cowherd, by Skip and Shannon about, not having a Jason Witten to rely on as a security blanket. And I thought his answers about him stepping up and not, yes, Jason Witten is irreplaceable, but the responsibility falls on him, Zeke, and some of the other younger leaders to take over the football team. And I thought that's what I wanted to hear as a fan. Him, Zach Martin just getting paid, Travis Frederick, Ezekiel Elliott. These are the guys that we're going to look to carry the torch forward. There's no more old guard here. This is actually a relatively young football team when you look at them on paper on offense and defense. I think Sean Lee's probably the oldest statesman there now. But just so impressed with, he talked a few weeks ago. He made the comment about not needing a number one receiver, and as Colin pointed out, a lot of people took that as a shot at Des Bryant. And I think what was very revealing there was Dak defending his comment with evidence, saying, "Hey, some of the best games I've had were, when we had, obviously when Dez was out and I had 8 different targets to 8 different guys and we were spreading the ball around." And that, the idea in the passing game and the idea of our offense has to be balanced. Balance has to be key. We can't be a run heavy team because we won't have rhythm in the passing game. And then there's going to be games where you're going to get behind or that balance is key. And that balance was there in 2016. And we got off balance in 2017 and for various reasons. And I think with with them understanding that concept and the changes they've made, I'm going to talk about Kellen Moore here in a second as well, taking over as quarterback coach, and some of the comments I've heard him make. I think it's very key that this offense progresses from a standpoint of really incorporating different elements and not pigeonholing guys. I loved hearing Cole Beasley's comments about, hey, guys are able to move around now, and it really coincided with what Dak said when he was asked. I believe it was on Skip and Shannon. Dak was asked, "Hey, who do you think is going to be like the breakout receiver of the group?" And he immediately said Cole Beasley, which wasn't a surprise to many of us because that's been his guy. That's who he has probably the most rapport with the guys remaining. And somebody who he feels very, very comfortable throwing to in various situations. But the one thing is Cole Beasley's predominantly been slot receiver, does a little bit of motion, but not, they talked about both Cole and Dak talked about Cole Beasley lining up on the outside, moving him around in the offense a lot more, and focusing more on matchups instead of, this is the position you play and that's what you're going to do. I think that's going to be the biggest change that we see with this offense in the passing game, because the passing game was abysmal, especially after Ezekiel Elliott was suspended last year. They had no rhythm, and it was very, very predictable. And then that's where you saw the issues of him trying to force feed the ball to Des Bryant, and then the inaccuracy and all those other things come into play. I think with them really forcing matchup issues. Hey, this week we're going to use Tavon Austin in this manner. This week we may have a matchup here with a Michael Gallup on the outside. Or hey, with this particular corner, the way this corner likes to play, it may be advantageous for us to have Cole Beasley out there. And that goes into what Kellen Moore was talking about, how they're going to change up their plays from a week-to-week basis. Hey, this week we may only have 70 to 80 plays, and we may have these adjustments against the defense, whereas the following week against this defense, we may have somewhere between 100 and 110 plays. And you'll hear that, but some people that may sound like coach speak to a lot of folks, but I can tell you right now, just from the offense that I watched last year, that was not the case. So I'm excited to hear those things. Now I want to see them come to fruition on the field when the season starts. From all reports, it sounds like we had a good mini camp. And the other thing I want to touch on is this team. A lot of people are discounting the wide receiver group for good reason. There's not a whole lot of proven names and guys in the group, and there's a lot of new faces. But the one thing they've done, and I complained about it on this channel last season, was the lack of speed. They have upgraded the speed in that room. Whether it's Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup can run, Deontay Thompson can run, Cedric Wilson can run. These are fast people. Even some of the guys that are like fringe players that they're going to be looking at, like a KD Cannon, Tavon Austin. KD Cannon and Tavon Austin might be the two fastest people on the roster right now. They just had that little video that came out on the Dallas Cowboys Twitter where they're talking about who's the fastest player on the team. And ultimately, most people said Tavon Austin after I think Anthony Brown was second. But all over the map, you have guys now. I think we went from probably not having a 4-4 guy on the roster to several different guys who are not. Some of them are burners, and some of them are going to be guys who have that functional football speed in terms of breaking tackles and running away from guys, short area quickness that we know we have with Cole Beasley. And I'm excited to see that with the Tavon Austin. And Dak genuinely sounds excited about how these guys are going to be incorporated into the offense. It's not just going to be we hand the ball off to Zeke first and second down, and then hopefully we're in a 3rd and 3 and we can throw a slant and convert it. We're gonna show a lot of looks. Hopefully, and I didn't hear Dak touch on this in any interviews. Hopefully Ezekiel Elliott is involved more in the passing game. That is something that I'm very, very excited to see. Some of the minicamp videos, I did see him catching balls out of the backfield. There's nothing to really take away from there, but I know he does have some good receiving ability, even coming out of Ohio State. And they can, again, it's just giving the defense as many looks as possible. One of the teams that I thought was really, really good at that last year was the New Orleans Saints. In past years, Drew Brees would throw for 5,000 yards and all these touchdowns, whatever, and they weren't making the playoffs. This year, they took a run-first approach, but they still incorporated balance. They threw a lot to the running backs, all these different positions. But yes, they had Michael Thomas, but for the most part, they had Ted Ginn, who was a cast-off, and other guy, Brandon Coleman, who was an undrafted guy, various random tight ends. But they were productive in their scheme because they were creative. And that's what I'm looking for from the Cowboys, is that creativity with these pieces and playing to people's strengths instead of pigeonholing guys and only using them for that particular function in our offense. Even Tony Romo, back in the day, Tony's most successful passing seasons when he was throwing the ball all over the place, we would go 8-8. And then 2014, when he only has a X amount of attempts, more balanced, DeMarco Murray wins Offensive Player of the Year. Boom, we're 12-4, and in the second round. So these are the things we have to pay attention to. I'm never gonna. And the other thing, the last thing I'll say is this: Dak was hit hard a lot with the Carson Wentz. or do you keep up with them, and do you pay attention to the numbers? And they're trying to. There's going to be a rivalry because one plays for the Eagles and one plays for the Cowboys. Just the nature of it, just like we saw with Romo and McNabb, and even Romo and Eli. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to look at Dak's numbers to judge his success and efficiency, because in the function of our offense, I don't need Dak to throw for 4,000 yards. I don't need Dak to throw for 30 plus touchdowns. And if we're going there, you know, I think something may have went wrong with the balance. What I want to see is us getting back to that. If he's in between 23 and 27 touchdown passes and the picks are down, the completion percentage is well over 66, 67%. The third down percentage is good. Those are the numbers that I care about. His rushing yards are there, especially in red zone situations, and we're multiple offense. That's what I care about. I don't need him. I don't need him to get out here and throw the ball 40, 45 times and dot up the sand lot. That's not the personnel of our team. And quite frankly, and they astutely made this comparison on NFL Network with Matthew Stafford when he lost Calvin Johnson, and how much of a better quarterback he's become because he hasn't been handicapped on force feeding the ball. I look for Dak to make that same progression and development, and I think he is ready to make the leap to at least that tier, to that lower top 10 tier of quarterbacks. And if he's there, that's good enough for us to win with. The Eagles just won with Nick Foles. Look, if this team can function properly, and we expect them to be as good as we think they can on defense, there is something to work with here, and they can be a dark horse based upon where some of the prognosticators have this roster right now. So I'm excited for Dak Prescott. I loved his energy, love his confidence. I love what I've seen and heard from minicamp, and I'm excited to see the improvements and what he's going to do come training camp. But as always, we'll be back. Y'all let me know in the comments. I know many of you have watched these interviews. If anything else that I may have missed stuck out to you, and look forward to discussing more. Appreciate y'all.